Okay, so next is capitalized only when needed. So this is kind of a self-explanatory rule, but I just want to explain some of the pitfalls that we have with capitalizing when it is not needed. So the next slide is just a description of what this rule is, but I don't need to go into that. Let's get into the good stuff. So if you look at the first example, I'm enrolled in MCOM 320 versus I'm taking a business writing class. So MCOM 320 is actually the title of the course, and when using a title of the course, you need to capitalize like it's shown here. If you're just describing what MCOM 320 is, it's a business writing class, you don't need to capitalize it. A lot of times what I see students do is they actually capitalize, not in this context, but for example, I am studying public relations or I'm studying accounting. Those, like public relations and accounting, does not need to be capitalized. You're just taking a specific a major, if you will. But let's say I was talking about a specific intro to public relations course. That title was comms 235. The C in the comms would need to be capitalized. But let's get into further examples. So some other rules with capitalization is to be sure to capitalize proper adjectives. So for example, I'm taking a French class. French is a language which needs to be capitalized versus French fries, which is a type of food, and it's not really a national food according to France. So French fries does not need to be capitalized. The next rule is in creating a vertical list, the first letter of the word in the bulleted list needs to be capitalized. So for example, eat, the E is capitalized. For example, go, the G is capitalized, and so on and so forth. But yeah, just make sure in your vertical list, the first letter of each word needs to be capitalized. The next guideline is titles and book titles, titles of jobs and book titles. Sorry, that was kind of weird. But basically, if you look at the Call of the Wild, the prepositions are not capitalized, but the other stuff, the noun and the adjectives are. So the first letter or first word, always the first word needs to be capitalized in the title. The Call of the Wild, just like what you see here. Okay, so let's get into a tricky part. So the president of the Walt Disney Company is Bob Iger. So in this case, the president, the word right here, is actually acting as a adjective or describing Bob Iger. Whereas the third sentence, the president, Bob Iger, gave an address to incoming cast members. So the president, Bob Iger, is actually being used as a title. So because it's being used as a title, the P in president needs to be capitalized. Again, emphasizing the word here, the rule here, just read that on your own. And then remember, anything fewer than four, well, that's a typo. Fewer than 4 letters needs to be lowercase. Let me just add that right now. Okay, so and then the next one is, so quotations. So if you're doing a direct quote or putting a direct quote in your writing, right here after the comma, the next letter in the quote or the first word and the first letter in that quote needs to be capitalized. So comma, I, capital I, if you did this would be wrong. And we kind of saw this in our past examples, but just remember to capitalize after or when you're doing a direct quote. If you're doing an indirect quote, you do not need to capitalize that indirect quote right here, just like it is seen. All right, so and then the last one I think is so compass points. So when you're talking about directions, you do not need to capitalize the southeast right here. But for example, if you're saying where a location where you're living, you do need to use a capital. So think of it as like a city almost. So Midwest, that is your location. That is your city. But yeah, let's get into an example quiz question that I think might help solidify this idea. So which item uses correct punctuation? So Disney World is in the west of Utah. B, Peter Pan said to Wendy, "You can fly." C, it all started with a mouse. A Walt Disney autobiography. D, the president of Disney said, "Dreams come true at Disney World." And then E, if I major in accounting, I can be rich and go to Disneyland. So the duh answers for me, the answers that I'm going to rule out are automatically E, because accounting, that's not even the full major name. It's actually Bachelor of Arts in Accounting. That's when I would need to capitalize. So E is actually out. A, since we're talking about direction, the West actually does not need to be capitalized. If it was like Disney is in the West, then we need to capitalize it. But since we're saying it's west of Utah, kind of a direction, right? We do not need to capitalize in this case. So A is out, E is out. B, let's see. Peter Pan said to Wendy, "You can fly." It's a direct quote. After the comma needs a capitalization. So if it was like this would be fine. But since it's not, B is out. So it's all down to C or D. So the president of Disney said, "Dreams come true at Disney World." So president of Disney, that there is no title associated with the name. So if it was like the president Bob Iger of Disney said, "Dreams do come true at Disney World," then that would be correct. But since there's no title associated with that name, it is wrong. So I'm guessing, let's check C. So it all started with a mouse. The prepositions are lowercase, less than 4 words. Cool. 4 letters, I'm sorry. With. Yep, my guess is C. So let's see if we're correct. And that is C. So just remember, there are exceptions to the capitalization rule, but if you remember that anything less than 4 letters, any preposition less than 4 letters does not need to be capitalized, and you should be fine.